everyone! How are ya? This one is really influenced by my years as a specialist teacher.
I'm thinking about rewiring the education system and thinking about how fidgets fit into that picture.
But in general, we're up, we're moving, we're touching things, we're showing things.
What I'm hearing here is that actually it could be those low-level behaviours that we didn't quite notice.
It's like knowing when to sort of reevaluate it or push through.
What's something we can do together? So it's us before it's you. I thought I would just start with like why this book came about. So with Behaviour, the Lost Modules, that was very much what it says on the tin, what we weren't taught about behaviour and really understanding that culture behind behaviour and our perspective with behaviour. And then this one is really influenced by my years as a specialist teacher. So I spent 2 years as a specialist teacher. And one of the first things I realised is that as a class teacher, you can kind of get away with a bit of a dry lesson. You know, you can be like, oh, Hans, you don't worry because we're going to do this later and it's okay. And you're that class family and you have that whole kind of life together. If you're a specialist teacher, a dry lesson is a bad lesson. It's not fun. It's really bad. And at the time that the policy in this school, are you ready, guys? Was warning and 5 minutes off your play. So obviously I was like, your gal's not going to do that. So what can I do is really focus on what I could control, which is the lesson. If children are really engaged in the lesson, if I'm given 10 out of 10 in the lesson, then they're going to want to be there. So this book is about really drawing everything that I had done 10 years before that across those year groups of like, okay, what was working, what was really engaging. And then I spent those 2 years, bless that school at the time, really doing lots of case studies. And, you guys don't mind, do you? And just really delving into different areas of research within engagement and trialing that out. So what I wanted to create was this playbook, this manual at the back, which is what I genuinely really needed as a specialist teacher, but as a class teacher as well. When you're like, I know this is a dry lesson, but I'm just going to get through it. How can we just add a little spicy bit of engagement? And that's what that manual's all about, just easily injecting that in. So my besties have put some little questions together. So we're just going to geek out about engagement for a little bit. They have informed me that they are uncomfortable, can't reach their water and can't go to the toilet. So we're not really practicing what we preach here. So I'll try and keep it within the hour.
So, reading through the book, chapter 8 really stood out to me because a couple of years ago I taught a class that really reframed my thinking about movement as a tool in the classroom. So I was wondering, what other big concepts do you feel like need a big reframe?
Yeah, and when you said this, I was like, yes, that was my first bullet point. Movement is the biggest reframe I feel like we're having at the moment. And it's so interesting because when you're thinking about mental health and how we support people with mental health, the first recommendations are we need to get moving. And it's such a contradiction because when children come into the classroom, we are told they have to be static, they can't move. And actually, if they are moving, then they're not focusing. It's undesirable behaviour. So it's such a contradiction there. And there are two other really big reframes. And one of them is chatting. And it's that age-old question of why are children chatting? And what I try to look at in this book is, okay, what if we change that question to when was the last time children connected? When was the last time children collaborated? Because actually what we know is that connection is that human instinct. And if we don't give it to our children, we don't get it, that's what we say in staff meetings, then we will find other ways to meet it. So it's about understanding that it's not a behaviour problem and it's a need solution. And then the last one, and this is one we've spoken about a few times on Besties, is attunement and regulation, because we go into teaching thinking we've got to get through the lesson no matter what.
That plenary's got to be happening.
We gotta go. You know, it's happening. And what happens is two things. Either we're fighting through it and we're like, oh no, I having to stop again. Or hands on top. And it's a lot of stop and start. Or we get to the end and we're like, nailed it. But they're not with us. Just a real crying shame. And they haven't actually understood the learning. So that chapter on attunement is about really making sure children are with you, but also for us as well. And I was saying earlier, attunement for me was something that I just had to do as almost like a survival strategy. Like I was like, so we're going to do silent reading because I need to decompress, Hans. Okay, I'm going to put some calming music on, everyone chill. And that was really thinking for myself of, okay, I'm actually not ready to start this lesson right now, so I need to attune and regulate myself. So I would say those are the biggest reframes. We've got movement, we've got talking, and we've got attunement.
Absolutely. And it's retraining, I think. This book is all about retraining the training that we've had, adding to it and developing on that. So that's amazing. All of those things obviously are really important. But I'm thinking about rewiring the education system and thinking about how fidgets fit into that picture. So what does the research say about those outside of what we're normally kind of used to, where we see them in calm spaces?
Yeah. There is a lot of controversy around fidgets. How are we feeling? How are we feeling about fidgets, Hans? So I feel like there's a bit of a split. So there are some teachers, and I was definitely one of them, who was like, no, okay, it's just going to be a no. And because I just didn't know what that was going to look like. And then there are probably lots of people sitting here who really get the theory and go, yes, I love that, but how? Yeah. Or they've tried and it's been a hot mess express. So I think it's like understanding the general principle. So like you said, what is that research? So we know that we can regulate through repetition, that our nervous system loves that repetition. And we also know it's an output for energy. So children who are fidgeting, who's little squirmies or want to get up, it's a way to get that energy out. But also it's really just mindfulness at its core. Mindfulness is just being present in the moment. And it's supporting children to be present in the moment. So I think if we understand as well from an adult's perspective, so we know I use fidgets on all of my trainings.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Sophie's with me with one of them.
We literally was like, we need that back now.
I ended up giving them the fidgets because it got a bit awkward. Like the adults get really into the fidgets and I have to have a chat with them and say, I paid for them and I need them back. And it is. And you can see, I'm nice. So I try and say it at the beginning, but even at the end, I'm like, I did say this.
But saying that, Jen, you do have this inner drive to try to regulate. Like we were in the airport, it was delayed by a whole day or whatever it was.
Tan was not okay.
Crying babies, everything. And Jen's just like, right, cool, suitcase open. Let's choose a fidget for this crying baby. And she just found, and she's got this need to regulate. It was amazing. Like,
I love doing that. I often have them in my bum bag. If there's like a child on the tube, I'm like, it's okay. Yes. I use it. I just love it.
I paid for it, but here you go.
It's fine. I can just get another bundle of Amazon. But they get very attached to it. And also, I think it's understanding how we teach. We don't teach in a static way. We don't teach sitting down and sitting on our hands all the time, okay? We might have a little break, and that's okay. But in general, we're up, we're moving, we're touching things, we're showing things. And it's really just mirroring that for our children, that they should be allowed to interact in that way too. So the issue isn't the ethos. The issue is theorize to systemize. So you got the theory, fantastic, but what does it look like? So it's about being really clear about your system. Now, I was telling the girls about this. I was at a school recently and I was chatting about this exactly. And they said, well, why don't we just chop up bits of the poppets and put them on the table.
Oh, I love that.
So children can use the poppets. And I was literally like, absolutely fantastic. But we were also saying as poppets are so cheap.
Yeah.
And you get them in bulk. It's just like
Cheaper than
groceries
milk
these
now.
days. Yeah, exactly. So that was a really clear system. And then I had a member who supported all of her children to try all different fidgets. They picked one and they all have it in their pencil case. So it's like you got your pen for writing, you got your fidget for regulation. And that is stunning. And it's all about understanding that system. So I think it's also, finally, about having a bit of common sense with it as well. I feel like sometimes in trainings, teachers say like, yeah, I really hate that fidget though. And I'm like, but don't put it in your room.
Yeah.
If you don't like the sound of it or it really genuinely bothers you, it's not in there, babe. Don't put it in there. So that's okay. So I think if it's not working, we know the theory. Let's just get serious and have that clarity over what that's going to look like, the system.
I think it's also good to like realise and reevaluate if we give children a fidget and we can see it's not really regulating them. You know, you've got those whip around ones. Like, I've had that experience. Like, I'm like, that's not grounding you, is it, hon? Let's try it again. But it's all okay. Yeah, I think it's okay to just be like, it's not a rave. Let's reevaluate the situation. I think it's okay for us to have them, but also say to the children, we're going to check if this is working for you, and if it's not, we're going to find something else that works for you, because it's all about regulating you.
And with that, we have that resource now, which is called Rate My Fidget.
Yeah.
Because that is awkward. And I'll send to the girls if they're like, I need a fidget. And then you're like, no. You're fine. So rather than doing that, it's like, okay, you're saying you need a fidget. Let's use the Rate My Fidget. And this is just an objective activity of, okay, what's the fidget? How long are we going to do it for? Let's say 5-10 minutes. Timer, because your gal forgets. And then like, what can we expect in those 5-10 minutes so that we know it's worked, i.e. 3 maths questions, 3 sentences, whatever you're doing. And then you can come back and then you're not the bad guy. It's like, did we do it? And it's not like, no. It's like, oh, I don't think that was a love match, and that's okay. Should we see what it's like without it? Or should we see what it's like with another one? So it's like making it objective.
Absolutely. I love that, and meeting that need in that way. So I think from what you've said, it's not a one size fits all. We don't need to feel the pressure of that worked in that classroom or that worked for that child, that must work for me. It's about fitting it to ourselves, which of course is what TGMC is about, but I just love that.